Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. A lot of baseball talk in hour number one, and that'll continue throughout the week. LSU will celebrate its 2025 national championship tomorrow night. A little bit of an alteration from the initial announcement. Tomorrow, you can go inside Alex Box Stadium at 7 o'clock. The celebration will begin at 8. So I would get there between 7 and 8. You get what I'm saying. But they're going to do that tomorrow night at the box. Looking forward to it. Over the weekend, the Tigers were winning that national championship on the diamond. And the football staff was recruiting a lot. Had a lot of high-name and high-profile visitors on campus. Sonny Shipp covers recruiting for the folks at 24/7. Gives us a little bit of time here on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sonny, how are you?
Good, brother. How you doing, man?
I'm awesome.
Still riding that high?
Yeah, I'm riding that high. It's all adrenaline right now. I had an early wake-up call this morning to get out of Omaha, but we're good. We're glad to be back and very excited to pick the kiddo up from school today who I haven't seen in 2 weeks. So we'll do that here very shortly. But let's talk some football recruiting. I want to start not with the visitors they had this weekend on campus, but with Bo Bentley, who they spent a lot of time recruiting and then decided to commit to Oklahoma. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, went out to the Elite 11. I think the writing was kind of on the wall. Everybody was kind of looking to see, what Oklahoma's current quarterback commit at the time, Jaden O'Neal, how his official visit to Florida State went. And he dropped his decommitment note on Thursday night, and in it commented on how he wanted to go someplace he was wanted. And so it became obvious at that point that Oklahoma didn't make him feel wanted anymore, and they obviously made Bo Bentley feel wanted, who, they were the leader from the get-go as far as, a school that he wanted to go to, his childhood favorite and so forth. So he pulled the trigger on Friday and then showed up at Oklahoma for their big recruiting weekend, and that left Joe Sloan scrambling a little bit, but he pushed out an offer last night to a kid out of California, 6'2", 205 pounds, Bryson Bieber is his name. Fared well at the Elite 11, the same competition that Bo Bentley was at and so forth. And he was kind of looking at Oregon, looking at Ole Miss. Those were kind of the two schools that were on him the most. He took an official visit to Oregon this past weekend. And then Sloan extended the offer. So now I think we just wait and see, okay, is this kid willing to wait the next 37 days that we're in a current dead period? Does he wait that entire duration and then try to check out LSU in early August, or does he go ahead and pull a trigger, like a lot of these kids are going to do over the next coming days and weeks and month in July? So it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out, and what direction Sloan ultimately goes in, which I think at the end of the day, I think the final destination for quarterback for LSU in 2026 is going to be transfer portal.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't sign a high schooler last year, and they don't have one committed now. So how big a deal is that?
I think it becomes a big deal. I think it becomes a big deal when you look, if you look at it like I do, and that is you're going to lose Garrett Nussmeier. After this season right here, you've got two guys. You got Michael Van Buren and you got Colin Hurley. Both of them feel like that they should be the backup quarterback. How is that? How is the one who doesn't win number two, how is he going to handle all of this? And then come December when the transfer portal opens, does LSU not only lose Garrett Nussmeier to the NFL, but do they lose another quarterback? Then that puts you in a bind if you don't sign a quarterback in 2026, because now you're going into transfer portal shopping with one guy on the roster in that room. And I'm not counting Juwan Johnson, no disrespect to the kid, but he's just been shuffled all over the place to where it's hard to pinpoint him at any one position right now. But if you look at that scenario, then you could say, okay, you could be in a bind by not taking a kid in 2026.
Yeah, I mean, that's the danger you have when you lean on the transfer portal and you swing and miss in the.
But it also, and it also dates back to Bryce Underwood too. You really, you didn't sign. Once you didn't get Bryce Underwood, you didn't really recruit anybody else, so you didn't have a backup plan in 2025, and then you also weren't really all that concerned about 2026 because you knew there wasn't anybody in Louisiana that was a no-brainer that you just had to go out and you had to offer. And so they kind of looked at it to where, okay, we get Bryce Underwood in 2025. We don't really need anybody in 2026. We can hit the portal if we have to. And then 2027, you're set up for one of the best quarterback situations that you've probably had since going back to the Josh Booty, Peyton Manning days. In Louisiana, and with Colton Nussmeier and all the ties that he has and the options that Sloan will have. So I think they kind of got caught in a situation like that, and it's just one more effect of of not signing Underwood.
No question. Sonny Shipp's our guest from 24/7 Sports, talking a little LSU recruiting. Let's talk about the guys they did have on campus over the weekend. One of those was Lamar Brown. How close was he to potentially not coming, and kind of where does that stand with Texas A&M?
Yeah, I guess, what was it, a week from today or a week from Monday, from yesterday, you had all of the talk of he wasn't going to visit LSU at all. Everyone had kind of already started, sending him to College Station. And then all of a sudden, the LSU convinced him to come for the visit. And I think they really did a good job. They did a good job of showing him the things that they needed to show him. I mean, the kid's seen everything that he needed to see. So before and all the visits that he's made, he's on LSU's campus at U-High anyway. But they were able to show him, I think, a lot of the love that the players have amongst themselves, the coaching staff, the big family atmosphere that they promote. They had Mason Smith come in and spend some time with him. They were able to share stories about, Mason Smith was in the same situation, a 5-star from Louisiana. Could have gone out of state, could have gone anywhere. He chose to stay here at LSU and talked about how much he, is glad that he made that decision and things like that. So that was a big hit and stuff, but make no mistake about it. These next, what is today, the 24th, 25th?
24th.
I'm old, you got to forgive me. We basically have a little bit over 2 weeks until he announces his decision on July 10th. Over these next 2 weeks, now you have to make sure all of your ducks are in a row. And by all of your ducks in a row, I mean all of your money is in a row. Make sure your NIL offer, make sure your NIL opportunities, make sure you got all that stuff. Because whatever he entered the weekend with, the best offer from A&M that he's gotten, Texas, LSU, all of those offers are going to be upped. That's just the nature of the game. That's just the way that it is. In these negotiation processes. So you just have to make sure everything lines up from that standpoint. And I think the LSU staff I think they're going to pull that. I think they're going to pull it across the finish line. I think that, he's called LSU his favorite for so long and for so many times throughout the process. And there was a reason that he did. And, I think with everything being equal, I think that LSU is going to, I think that they'll get the job done and keep him home.
Brown was not the only 5-star on campus over the weekend. Did LSU make some inroads to anybody else?
Well, you had Tristan Keys who came in, and obviously the number one wide receiver in the country out of Hattiesburg, Mississippi, committed to LSU, but coming off a visit to Tennessee, he visited Miami this summer, took some other visits and stuff. And, look, when you talk about NIL and you talk about the number one player at any position in the country, maybe outside of kicker, punter, and long snapper, those guys are going to demand some hefty NIL deals. It's just supply and demand. And so whenever, with a guy like Tristan Keys, Miami's still after him, Tennessee's still after him, a lot of schools are still after him. But getting him on campus this weekend to hang with Jamari Mack and Kenny Darby, 2 more LSU commitments, they were really able to really tighten their relationship, get a lot closer. A lot of the talk about, we're going to be the best we're going to be the best wide receiver trio that LSU's ever had. That kind of talk. And so all of that stuff is good that when you're sitting there and you start, you start going through the recruitment listen to other coaches, their spills and stuff like that. The fact that you have those friends now at LSU, I think that within itself helped him and will, give LSU a little more ammunition when they have to stave off these other offers, down the stretch.
You got a lot of commitment dates coming up, but you mentioned there's a dead period. So what's the calendar look like right now? The players can contact the coaches, but the coaches can't contact the players before they're being contacted. Is that it?
The coaches can contact the players. They can still call and stuff. They can do they can do FaceTime. They can do all of that. The only thing that is not allowed is in-person contact on or off campus. Okay. So, Frank Wilson strolls into McDonald's. He sees Lamar Brown at the counter. He probably needs to just walk away, act like he's getting in his car, hide behind the dumpster, and wait on him to walk out.
All right, I'm sure Frank will be on his P's and Q's over at the drive-thru. Sonny, we appreciate some time. We'll catch up very soon. Thanks.
Absolutely, man. Have a good one, buddy.
He's Sonny Shipp with 24/7 Sports, all over the recruiting side of things. This is a wild time for college coaches trying to get these guys committed, and then trying to keep them committed, and it's just it's interesting. And I'm curious. Sonny did say there that he thinks that Lamar Brown will ultimately end up at LSU. Obviously there's a lot of confidence with the Texas A&M side at this point, but hopefully you can keep one of the best players in the country right there in your backyard moving forward in LSU. Put out their best foot forward over the weekend. One of the interesting pictures that came out of the weekend was, and I'm not even 100% certain the three players that it was, but three of the players had their moms go full uniform. Shoulder pads, helmets, football pants, cleats, the whole 9 yards. And it's kind of a trend-setting moment. With usually the players do the photo shoot. This time the moms did the photo shoot, which was, I thought, kind of funny. But it's just that's the kind of deal you gotta pull out all the stops with your recruiting, and then make sure your NIL is where it needs to be. Right. All right. Let's take a time out. We will come back, and we got Sharief Ishaq in 20 minutes coming up on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Not every renovation or remodel has to be huge. Tub to shower conversion is not a huge deal. It's quick, it's cost effective, and it makes a big difference. Take out that dingy old tub, that tub that doesn't work, the tub that you don't use, and put in a gorgeous shower. It's one way to completely improve your living situation without having to move or do a massive renovation that takes 6 months. David Duvall and his team are happy to do it. Start with that free consultation with the folks at One Bath and Closets. And ask them about the financing options they have, 0% up to 18 months if you qualify. They'll do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. That's the tagline. I couldn't tell you yesterday because I completely froze. But they'll do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. It's David Duvall, One Bath and Closets. You can find them online at onebathandclosets.com.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
So the NBA Finals wrapped up back on, was it Sunday night? My days are just...
Yes, it was Sunday.
Sunday night. Okay. My days just still... I mean, I think tomorrow I should ease into knowing exactly what day it is. I did not know what day it was ever in Omaha. It was just ridiculous with the every day being the same and the rain delays. The NBA Finals wrap up on Sunday, then immediately turn around on Wednesday is the draft. Pels have a couple of first-round picks. They still have a couple of first-round picks. They're trading away a second-round pick because there's been a big trade by Joe Dumars and this Pelicans organization. Cassie Spazzali, of course, is our great video producer here. If she were sitting in that chair about 8 feet to my right, she wouldn't know much about this Pelicans trade. But she's not here. She's on vacation. And Jordan Kitchens is, and he hosts the Pelican Scoop podcast. So now we get Jordan to announce the trade and then give me some thoughts on it, sir.
All right, let's start it off. So the New Orleans Pelicans, according to Shams Charania on Twitter, X'd everything out. The New Orleans Pelicans are trading C.J. McCollum, Kelly Olynyk, and a future second-round pick to the Washington Wizards for Jordan Poole, Sadiq Bey, and pick number 40, sources tell ESPN.
So CJ's out. That's a guy who I had so much respect for, played through injury, played really well, was a good shooter. While B.I. and Zion were seemingly never on the floor, he seemingly always was on the floor.
Good vet.
Great veteran, great shooter, great scorer. But getting up in age, and he'll go to Washington, where the Wizards are just atrocious. And Jordan Poole's a big name. That's a guy you pair with Zion. What you think?
All right. I just want to say this first. CJ, he's going to be a good vet for the Wizards. They need structure, so they need a CJ.
They need
McCollum.
everything.
I'm about to say they need a lot. He's a good vet that can go in there and get these young guys right. But I'll be damned if I'm not super happy by this. I mean, Joe Dumars, okay. A lot of people try to give him a little bit of flack the other day because, Tyrese Halliburton tore his Achilles and the Pelicans traded their pick back. They had Indiana's pick next year, and they traded that back to get the 23rd pick this year. It's top 4 protected. People forget that. So even if the Pacers were bad, who we weren't even going to get a top 5 pick regardless. People on Joe's head. I get that. This is a good move. You don't give up any first-round picks. You bring in Jordan Poole, he's got a lot to prove. He's going to have a lot to prove because, he's been sitting in the Wizards, picking his nose, just putting up empty stats, empty calorie stats. We're going to see what he can do.
26 years old.
Yeah, 26. I mean, coming from a Golden State dynasty back in the day, Draymond punched him, ended his career a little bit, but he can revitalize that in New Orleans because I do think, let me take that back, Hunt. It could get a little tricky now I think about it because you still are in another position where you don't have a point guard. CJ can kind of handle the ball a little bit. Jordan Poole can handle the ball, but he's not a point guard. And now you're in a situation where you have Trey Murphy still, Herb Jones, Jordan Poole. I mean, you don't have all these spots available. DeJounte's going to be out, but maybe they might draft a point guard now. I just feel like there's a little bit more clarity with the team. I'll say that. It's a little bit more clarity what the direction they might go.
Are you worried about losing CJ's veteran presence? Because I'm looking from afar here. I'm not knee deep in the Pels here, but Zion being the face of the organization and the leader scares me a little bit. And CJ keeping people between the buoys, I feel like is probably one of his best attributes.
Okay, yes, but at the same time, certain point Zion has to grow up. All right. Yeah. Yes. I mean, look, Zion, me and Zion are the same age. Sooner or later, bro, you got to grow up. If we're giving you $200 million, you want to be the man, you got the shoe deal, the endorsements, all of this, get out the headlines, with your little escapades off the court, lock in. This should be a sign anybody's movable. You might be next. If Luka Doncic can get moved, why can't you get moved? So this is like your final strike. If you can't make this work, just get out of town. That's how I feel. But I think CJ will be missed in a sense of a veteran presence, but come on, man. Like, these guys are getting older. Sooner or later, somebody's got to be the adult in the room. Like, this ain't not a young team of 20-year-olds and 21-year-olds. The team's starting to get a little bit up in age. And you just watch OKC win with guys that haven't even purchased beers yet. They don't even know how to pop bottles. So it's like, sooner or later, you got to grow up. So, yes.
Saddiq Bey, what do you know about bringing him in? He's 6'7", small forward. What do we got here?
Okay, well, I remember a couple years back, he dropped 50 points when he was on the Pistons. He got traded to the Hawks, and it's been kind of just, I don't know what happened. He kind of fell off a cliff. He kind of just got put by the wayside, but he's a good scorer, but he's just inconsistent with it. But at the same time, this Pelicans team, you need bodies. And I'm not talking warm bodies. No, you actually need a little bit of talent on the team. You need some talent. You're going to start the season without DeJounte, torn Achilles, so you can kiss him goodbye for the foreseeable future. You might start the season without Trey Murphy recovering from a torn labrum and a shooting arm. You might not have Herb Jones either, who's recovering from a torn labrum and his non-shooting arm. So you're going to be without guys. You need talent. You need bodies. I think Saddiq Bey will be a good addition off the bench, and in certain spots he could start for the team, yes.
All right, so we're feeling better today than we did 10 days ago in Pelicans Nation?
Oh, Hunt, I almost jumped out my seat when I saw that trade pop up on my phone, man. Like, that is something. It's just the fact they didn't give up any first-round picks. I love that. The fact that Joe didn't overextend his hand to get this move. I feel like this is a good trade on both ends. I don't feel like obviously going to be a winner and loser, but I don't think anybody can walk away and be like, oh, we got fleeced or they got fleeced. I think the Wizards got two veterans that they desperately need on a team full of young guys. I think the Pelicans got younger, better help on a team that needs younger and better talent. So I think both teams win.
I don't disagree with you. I was kind of surprised during the break. Jordan was very excited. I think this is a good trade. I don't think it's an amazing. I don't think Joe Dumars just pulled off one of the best trades in the last few years or anything. But it is really good for the Pelicans. They got younger. I do think that they're going to have to go out and sign some sort of veteran presence that's going to see significant playing time, because they really don't have that anymore now.
Yep.
Losing CJ McCollum, but this is a good move. I mean, Jordan Poole has had his he's been. I don't know.
Streaky.
He's got some. He's had some run-ins with stuff on social media.
Yeah, that's not great.
No, it's
with
not.
Zion, there's some drama involved here.
Right. So let's see what happens with that. Can he rein that in a little bit? He's been in the league for 6 years now. So that's another one where it's like, all right, Zion, you need to grow up. Jordan Poole probably needs to grow up a little bit. Yeah. So maybe this is a good fresh start for him. And Sadiq Bey, I think, is just going to be like an 8th or 9th guy on the bench he's probably going to play in your second unit. And he's probably going to be a pretty good guy for that second unit. Yeah. But, I think it is a really good trade for the Pelicans. Like Jordan said, you don't lose a first, you just swap second round picks, which who cares about that? That just kind of evens out to me. So it's a good trade for the Pelicans, and it's a good step towards the next season. Yeah.
All right, that concludes Pels talk here. If you want to hear more about that trade, I'm imagining there will probably be an episode of the Pelican Scoop coming up this afternoon.
It's coming.
It's coming up. All right, let me talk LSU baseball in the transfer portal here. I do have a name that LSU is pursuing. This has been reported multiple places, so I'm not exactly breaking news here. But Rutgers right-handed pitcher Landon Mack just finished his freshman year for the Scarlet Knights, and he has jumped in the transfer portal. This is big time talent here. This is one of those guys that you add and you that's the Gage jump, that's the Ianson, that's the upside that you're adding here. Matt could be that. He was at Rutgers this year, threw 80 and a third innings, struck out I believe 70 hitters. Yeah, 70 strikeouts. Had an ERA of 4.03. But I look at some of the video that I saw today of him, and I look at some of the outings that he had, and you just see the talent. I mean, Oregon was a regional host this year. Oregon tied UCLA to win the Big Ten. They won 22 games in the Big Ten, and Mack went to Oregon and threw a 7-inning shutout with 2 hits allowed. They only struck out 2, but a really good outing. 4 strikeouts in that outing. He's got a really good breaking ball, and the fastball velocity is in the low to mid 90s. And he's just a freshman. So it's a guy that have 2 years of eligibility left. Now, I get it. All these stats are against teams in the Big Ten, but he's a freshman. And you saw an 8-inning outing against Minnesota where he had a really good outing. He threw 6 innings at Indiana that were shut out with just 5 hits allowed. So I liked the video. I like the numbers. I like that he's a freshman. And this is a guy that Tennessee is very much on. This is a guy that you're going to see a lot of teams in the SEC and the ACC try to bring in for visits. Reportedly, he is going to visit Knoxville, and hopefully gives LSU a chance. You heard, finally, we got a name attached to the story that Jay Johnson has consistently told about 2023 when LSU was trying to recruit a player. They ended up committing elsewhere while LSU was winning the national championship. It was Nate Snead, the reliever from Tennessee, really good reliever for them, had a solid freshman year at Wichita State, ended up going to Knoxville. He's throwing 100 miles an hour now and was one of their very, very key. He was their best reliever this past year. And that's a guy that LSU lost because they were in the national championship series and couldn't get him to a visit because he committed to Tennessee before they could get back to Baton Rouge. And in this instance, LSU is now back to Baton Rouge. And let's see if they can get Landon Mack in for a visit and see if they can add him to the mix. I think he would be very much in the mix to be a weekend starter with Zach Cowan. That's one of the names I was going for. It wasn't the one I was trying to say first. Kason Evans, Zach Cowan, William Schmidt, Cooper Williams, Jaden Newt. You've got a number of guys there who could vie for that role, and I think that Landon Mack, if they could get him in, would certainly be one of those as well. So if we hear anything on that, we'll keep you posted on it. I expect Jay Johnson to add 3 more guys in the next 10, 12 days. I think that's probably a fair guesstimate. We don't know what the future holds for some of these guys, so it's hard for me to go roster spot for roster spot because there are too many guys that could leave or could stay, whether that's to go to the draft or to go to the transfer portal. But I think 3 or 4 additions probably sounds right to this point. We'll just see, and if we hear anything, we'll keep you posted, and certainly we'll write about it over on LouisianaSports.net. All right, let's step aside. Sharief Ishaq on the Saints next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website. If you have not considered a captive for your commercial insurance, why? It could completely change your bottom line in risk management if you qualify. And so if you're a sizable business and you feel like you pay a lot for insurance and you haven't been presented with a captive, call Jonathan Carbo. Say, hey, I heard Hunt talking about these captives. Like, what do we need to do? We need to talk to him. They handle captives all the time over at the Highland Insurance Group, and they can help you out with your commercial insurance if you fit into a captive. They're in Baton Rouge. They can help you out statewide, wherever you are. But check them out online, highlandig.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group. Find them online at highlandig.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, moving right along here. Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Got 2 segments left to go. Talked a lot of LSU baseball today. Talked a little football recruiting at the end of the hour. If you missed that, you can catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Search Hunt on LSU for all your LSU football content. We update that just about each and every day with the next LSU football topic of the day, which today was the recruiting of Bo Bentley, Lamar Brown, Tristan Keys, and some of the 5 stars that LSU has been aggressively pursuing here in this cycle. So go ahead and check that out on Tuesdays. Sharief Ishaq's good enough to give us a little bit of time, and it's actually pretty timely that he jumps aboard because the Pelicans just made a little move there. We talked about it a little bit in the last segment, but moving CJ McCollum and Kelly Olynyk and a second-round pick over to Washington, and in return they get Jordan Poole and some more ancillary things. Sharief, how'd Joe Dumars do here?
I think it was, I kind of like this move. I'll be honest with you, I got to like it. CJ McCollum was great on and off the court for the city of New Orleans and for the Pelicans, of course. And he's 33 years old. He's going to be 34 in September. I think they got to get younger. You just can't keep running it back, Hunt. Running it back, and essentially getting the same result. I mean, it's just not working out. That's the definition of insanity. It really is. Look, at least they're trying. So I do like Jordan Poole, a little bit more athletic. Of course, 26 years old, which means he's 8 years younger than C.J. McCollum, has a little bit more range and athleticism. I like the move. The salaries kind of match up, even though C.J. McCollum was going to be a salary dump after this year. He only had 1 year left. Poole has 2 years left on his contract. I think a little bit more than 30, then 27 the year after that. But that's the money version of it. I do like it. And I do like Sadiq Bey being a guy who come off the bench. Unfortunately, the last game he played was against the Pelicans, and he tore his ACL in that game. So he's coming off an ACL injury and then getting a second-round pick. Look, they're stocked with picks. They got 7, 23, and 40 in the second round. So at least Joe Dumars is trying to fix the brand and fix the on-court product for this franchise that's been struggling so mightily.
Can the Pelicans help the 2025-2026 team in the draft at 7, or is that a spot where you probably are getting a player that may help you a little bit more down the road?
I think they can find someone who's reliable there. I'm not going to say a superstar right away. I think somebody who's reliable you can maybe plug and play. Now that C.J. McCollum is gone, yeah, you have Jordan Poole, but remember that you don't have DeJounte Murray until maybe the All-Star break because of the Achilles injury that he suffered. So I'm thinking you're aiming at, if Ace Bailey falls to them, that's great. I would not move up to get him. Maybe they do something crazy tomorrow and they trade up a few spots to get him. But I would stay where I am. If he falls to you, great. If not, you maybe have a look at Jeremiah Fears, the point guard from Oklahoma, or maybe even Trey Johnson falls to you from Texas, another guard. I really like Trey Johnson with his size at 6'5", his ability to shoot and create. But a lot of the mock drafts have him top 5. Look, the ESPN one that I read a little while ago has him slipping to the Pelicans. If you get him at 7, man, that's a win for you. But some of the other names, I would take a look at. They do need another big guy. Maybe Kaman Malawak from Duke. But those are the 4 guys: Malawak, Johnson, Fears, and Bailey. But I would say Bailey's going to be the toughest one to get.
This is the point. Like, I know all the guys you're talking about because I watched them so much in college, and then I feel like they get to the NBA, and if they go play for the Wizards or somebody or the Nets, like I'm just never going to never going to see him again. But if they play for the Pels, I will. So we'll see what they decide to do at 7. All right, Sharief, let's talk a little bit about the Saints while I've got you here. I'm curious how you feel about some of the players that have been on the roster a couple of years that have not made an impact and what their potential impact could be. Let's start with Isaiah Foskey and Kendre Miller. They haven't played for different reasons, but how do you feel about those two guys and their potential to help this year?
Well, let's start with, since we always talk about Kendre, let's start with Foskey this time.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been MIA. Maybe Staley's system and Bo Davis, they figure it out with him and they tap the potential out of him. I remember when the Saints drafted him, I'm like, hey, man, you don't become the all-time sack leader out of Notre Dame by accident. And then he's starting to prove a lot of us wrong, or right or wrong, whatever. The thing is, he's proving us he's not that good. He hasn't been that good. And just maybe, his athleticism can shine in this 3-4 defense under Staley. I mean, he's got to find a way to get on the field. I mean, it hasn't really been injuries. It's just his inability to get on the field. If you can't get on the field, then you're not good enough. And this is going to be it for him. I mean, he doesn't play this year. He's probably done. They're not going to continue. They're not going to extend him, not do anything with him. Flip side, it's Kendre Miller. With him, it's not his ability to play. It's his ability to get on the field.
Yeah.
Now, he had beef with Dennis Allen, and it felt like once Dennis was gone, things were fine. I think things have been fine for him. Now he's much happier. He's in much better shape. I thought he was running the ball really well in some of these mandatory mini camps. I know it's not really much. But that running back room, Hunt, is just crowded with so many players right now. It's so many players. I know all those 7 guys that are behind that are in that running back room. You got Alvin, and then you got everyone else. I mean, someone has to eventually pop up and become a good running back behind Alvin Kamara. They need someone, whether if it is Kendre, whether if it's Clyde if he makes the team, Devin Neal. I personally think it's going to be Kendre Miller. I think this is Kendre Miller's time. I think he has a chip on his shoulder with the Dennis Allen days, especially the way how last season ended. Whenever he said he wasn't hurt, he should have never gone on IR for those 4 games. So I do think he is going to be ready to play. I think that's you can just see the motivation with him out there so far this offseason.
Do you feel like the signing of Jordan Reed ended the thought that Jordan Howden might be a starting safety for the Saints?
For now, I do think for now, but it's good to have depth. It's good to have the veteran to teach the younger guy. I'm good with the move. I told you that last time we talked about Jordan Reed. I think we need to bring in the guy who is the Super Bowl championships under his belt, just like when they signed Tyron. Tyron had the 1 Super Bowl with the Chiefs, just like Justin Reed has 2 with the Chiefs. I'm good with it. You've got to bring in these veterans to teach the younger guys, because some of the younger guys were struggling in that Joe Woods and Dennis Allen system. So I don't think it's necessarily the end of the line when it comes to him being a starter. I think this is a good push for him in the right direction to learn from Justin Reed, because I think, once again, I think that Jordan has talent. I do think that Jordan Howden has some talent there. I mean, he's could be a ball hawk. He's a solid tackler. So now he gets a chance to learn from one of the better safeties in the NFL. So I think he should be just fine, but because he's still got years. He's not like Isaiah Foskey. At least he's on the field. He's contributing on special teams, and he's contributing in the secondary. So I think he's headed in the right direction. Let's say that.
I'm a little surprised Dallin Holker hasn't been able to crack in there at tight end. I know Taysom Hill's got the role, and they signed Foster Moreau, and Juwan just got re-inked, so it feels like the position is now kind of blocked. When they signed him as an undrafted free agent, I really thought, okay, that's a guy that's going to make the team and make a difference, and it just never really happened. You've seen him in training camp and in practices and stuff. Are you surprised that he never made a push?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised, mostly because he was a high priority undrafted free agent. They gave him all that money. And I thought, man, he's going to shine, especially last year when they were dealing with a lot of injuries. And you're right, not really much. And sometimes you have to bring the right coaching staff to untap that potential. And that's why I think I'm trying to give some of these guys like Foskey and Kendre a chance as well, because maybe a fresh voice, fresh coaching staff will get them moving in that right direction. I see the same with Dallin Holker, but it's going to be a little tough. You got to remember, though, when does Foster come back? When does Taysom Hill come back? It feels like Taysom could be headed in the right direction, the wrong direction of maybe starting the season on PUP or IR because that injury happened in mid-December. Foster, I don't know, like if I think Foster's the one who could be ready before the season starts. So, I mean, but yeah, he is fighting. He's fighting to get that lineup. But this should be the chance for him to try to take hold and try to take a chances with those guys being out because they may not even start training camp practicing. I mean, I doubt Taysom Hill is going to be practicing during training camp unless he has a miraculous healing process, which we've seen before with him. But I just think this time they're probably going to take a little easier on him because, he's the battering ram, and then they want to make sure that he's healthy during the right part of the season. So this is a chance for Dallin to show off his skills under this new staff. So, the opportunity is there, Hunt, for Dallin.
Last one. This was a little bit off the wall, but I'm curious your thoughts. Blake Grupe, okay, pretty good year last year.
Yeah.
Charlie Smith, though, do you feel like that's going to be a real competition in the fall?
I do not think so. I think that it's Blake Grupe's job. I mean, I think it's Blake Grupe's job to lose. So I'm going to stick. I'm going to stick with him. I'm going to stick with Blake Grupe, and that's the guy. That's the guy that I really like at that position. Now, if you want to talk about another position,
sure. What you got?
Punter. Maybe punter could be one. Matthew Hayball could be. Could be the guy that could possibly lose out his job. I mean, James Burnup is the guy that, big physical guy from Alabama, has a booming leg, a massive leg. So I'd watch that one when it comes to specialists. I think it could be the Burnup versus Hayball showdown there to see who wins it out because, they've changed punters the last two seasons.
They have. We'll see. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. I will give you the opportunity to talk about Omaha.
I loved everything I saw. It was great. Remember when we did our Zoom, whenever I asked you, could they win a stall? And you was like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, I think they can get there, but it all depends. I mean, with you, I had no idea that they can win it all. 6 weeks ago, I was like, man, can they even get to Omaha? Man, playing your best baseball at the right time, your pitcher's getting hot, everyone playing good defense. I was pumped, man. I was pumped to see another national championship. It's probably better that I don't ever go back again. I'm not saying I'm bad luck. I was there in 2023 just for the championship series. But Kendall Duncan is the person who needs to be there from start to finish, and I think LSU will always win.
That's good to know. If Jay Johnson finds that out, he will make sure that happens. It was I thought once they beat Tennessee and Arkansas at home, I said, look, they may not make it out of their own regional, but they're good enough to win the whole thing. Like if you can do that 2 weeks in a row the way they did it against those two teams, like you're good enough to go get it done, and they ended up doing it. So you never know. There's no sure thing. It's a fickle sport, but it's been a pretty good run for Jay Johnson through 4 years.
Yeah, that bracket was the bracket of death. I felt like when they got to Omaha, I thought that the team that got out of that bracket was going to win it. And as soon as they beat Arkansas, I was like,
"Yep,
Coastal's not beating LSU once. There's no way they're going to beat Cade Anderson and Anthony Ianson at all." So, and just 3 runs in 2 games. I mean, and they came against Ianson, who was fantastic, just like Cade Anderson. And Chase Shores, man, lights out. I don't know what he's going to do next year. I don't know if he's going to go in the draft. That's your specialty. If he comes back,
he'll be gone. Out. He will. Somebody will offer him lots of money to come throw 100 miles an hour for a pro team, and he will do that. So I anticipate that was his last pitch at LSU, but it was an important one, and he'll get to see it for the rest of his life now because it was the last pitch to win the Natty. So thanks, Sharief.
All right, man. I'll see you tomorrow at the celebration if you're there.
Sounds good. Sharief Ishaq, WDSU. He'll be here covering the celebration, which, by the way, tomorrow, gates open at the box at 7 o'clock. The celebration will begin at 8 o'clock. So we'll be talking about that on tomorrow's show. We'll come back and close this one out next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. Every car that's on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. How's a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty sound? 10 years, 100,000 miles. Pretty good. 3 years of complimentary valet maintenance. Pretty good. So it means you just have one of the Genesis Baton Rouge brand ambassadors come to your place of business or your home. They'll leave you a loaner car, take your car back to the service aisle, get that oil change done, get the wiper blades handled, wiper fluid done, get your air filter fixed. You don't have to sit there and watch Price is Right for an hour every morning and sit there and wait till they bring the car back out to you. No, you just get on about your day, and when it's done, they'll bring it back to you. It's valet complimentary maintenance on your vehicle for the first 3 years when you buy a new Genesis vehicle. Every car that's on the lot is online. It's from the sedan, all the way up to the SUV. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge, and you can find them airline at Pico and online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Genesisofbatonrouge.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, wrapping things up here, a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. A lot of baseball in the first hour, some baseball in the second hour, also Pels, Saints, and LSU football. So we kind of covered all our bases here on this Tuesday. There's one thing left to do, and that is, of course, take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Presented to you by Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer, crafted by America's oldest brewery. Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Shout out to Flight by Yingling. If you were watching the show from Omaha the last couple of weeks, I had the 2 cans of Flight by Yingling. They don't sell that in Nebraska or Iowa, so I had to bring that along. I put them in the fridge after the show yesterday, and then we got back from dinner. I drank both of them. So they did not come back with us, and you don't see them on the flight. But it's the next generation of light beer. It's a great, great summer beer. If you're looking for a light, refreshing, cold beer in the summer, Flight by Yingling is fantastic. Whether you're mowing the grass, out at the pool, out tailgating, fishing, on the grill, Flight by Yingling, fantastic. 95 calories, crisp, delicious, and light while maintaining that beer flavor. Great, great light beer. Flight by Yingling.
All righty, first one here. Former All-Star pitcher Noah Syndergaard has signed a minor league deal with the Chicago White Sox. They could use some help. Syndergaard hasn't pitched in the majors since 2023. He will pitch for the White Sox. Take it or leave it.
Oh, leave it. I mean, what are we doing here?
It's the White Sox. They got to do something.
How many guys you got in your organization? You're going to go get a guy who hadn't pitched in 2 years? I mean, what's his fastball velo these days? Like 91?
Good question, actually.
Or he was throwing bullets into 2015 season when they swept the Cubs in the LCS.
Yeah.
That was they had Harvey, DeGrom, and Syndergaard, and it was like, who's ever going to beat them?
Yeah.
And then they went into the World Series and got their butts kicked. Who beat them?
2015. I don't know why I can't think of that.
Played the Royals?
Oh, yeah. Was that the Royals
the
year with
Royals?
Eric Hosmer? Yeah. Actually, that sounds right.
I'll have to look that up during the next one. But, yeah, I think that sounds right.
Yeah. It is. This is, I mean, we talked about
Royals got after him.
Yeah.
6 games.
Yeah.
5 games.
I think, and it's funny, I think I remember doing a take it or leave it on Syndergaard maybe last year or 2 years ago when somebody signed him, and it just really stinks because that guy was absurdly, like, his stuff was insane. I mean, he could have been, one of the best pitchers in the majors for years, but just injuries derailed, and you see it sometimes. But really unfortunate. But look, he's at the White Sox, so I mean, if he's gonna be able to pitch for anybody, it's probably the White Sox.
Yes,
so hopefully,
that's correct.
Hopefully, maybe he'll get a chance. But last one here, real quick. The New York Knicks are interviewing Minnesota Timberwolves assistant Micah Nori. I'm sure no one's heard of him for the team's head coaching job. Sources told ESPN the Knicks have now done formal interviews with 3 candidates. Nori and then 2 former head coaches, Mike Brown, who's coached for the Knicks a while ago, and then also Taylor Jenkins, who used to coach the Grizzlies. The Knicks fumbled the bag. Take it or leave it.
My gosh, I take it. How much can I take it? I've never taken one more. This is like, I mean, I can't even come up with an apt comparison here. This would be like Kansas firing Lance Leopold, their football coach, and just like digging around for like defensive line coaches at Oklahoma State to be their next head coach. Like, this guy did something that no one's been able to do, and you have no plan once you've dismissed him for what we all assume is like no reason.
Right.
I don't understand.
It is really crazy because after they got rid of him, everyone just assumed, they must have somebody. They've got to have somebody that in line. They know that they're going to hire this guy. But
just hire a Van Gundy and get it over with.
Yeah,
just grab one of the Van Gundys. Any Van Gundy will do. Just take one of those.
Yeah, it's really surprising. But again, I think this just goes back to people, or at least a lot of times fans and even myself, sometimes just assume that people in front offices of professional teams just always know what they want to do, always have it together, and are always planning ahead. But it seems to me that the Knicks had just no idea what they were thinking here with this. So.
Surprise, surprise. You got to be incompetent to have a brand and a following in a city, in a market like that, and just screw it up for a quarter century. Like it's
impressive.
It takes some incompetence, and they've got it figured out there in Manhattan. So that's it for Take It or Leave It here, presented by Flight by Yingling. Shout out to the folks at Yingling who made everything possible over the last week and a half. And one more shout out to GoFlow IV Spa and, of course, Our Lady of the Lake for everything that they've done for getting us to Omaha and now back from Omaha. I feel like I can get my feet on the ground this evening and get some things done, taken care of, and then tomorrow will be like a normal day of work for the first time in 3 weeks. But what an awesome run it was, and we'll celebrate the 2025 national champions at the Box tomorrow night. 7 o'clock is when they open the gates, and 8 o'clock is when they will start the festivities. That's it for us. If you missed any of the show today, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google. Wherever you find your sound, you can certainly find us. Search Hunt Palmer Show. Hunt on LSU for your LSU content. Hunt on Saints for your Saints content. That's it. Matt's going to drive you home next on After Further Review. Michael Braswell is going to jump on with him. I am really excited because I'm going to go knock 2 things out upstairs, and then I'm going to go pick up the kiddo who I've not seen in 2 weeks. So that's exciting. So it's exciting. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, for a Wednesday edition. The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.